In this video, we'll show you how to use the vendor directory in JobMaster. To access the vendor directory, click on the Vendor button at the JobMaster main menu. Here you can see the entire list of vendors that have been entered into JobMaster and the ID, name, and phone number for each. Above the list of vendors, there's a panel which contains some controls which you can use to search for a particular vendor. To search for a vendor by their ID, click in the Vendor ID circle. Then type the ID of the vendor you're looking for into the yellow box below and press the return key. If you want to search for a vendor by their name, click in the Name circle. Type the vendor's name in the yellow box below and then press the return key. If the vendor you're searching for is in the list, it will be selected. Notice that there are also 4 buttons below the list of vendors with arrow-like symbols on them. Going from left to right, the leftmost button selects the vendor at the top of the list. The next one selects the vendor above the currently selected vendor in the list. The next one after that selects the vendor below the currently selected vendor in the list. And the last one selects the vendor at the bottom of the list. To enter a new vendor, click on the New button near the bottom left corner of the window. A new window will open. The first thing you must do at this window is enter the vendor's ID and name. The vendor's ID can contain letters, numbers, and punctuation characters, but it must be unique so that no other vendor that is in JobMaster can have the ID you choose. At the left side of the window is a panel where you enter the main contact information for the vendor, including their address, city, state, zip code, country, phone number, fax number, and email address. Right under the field where you enter the country, there's a checkbox called U.S. address. If this checkbox is checked, then the vendor's address, fax number, and phone number are automatically formatted as if they are in the United States. Below the main contact information are 2 drop-down lists called Terms and Preferred Status. If you and the vendor have agreed on payment terms, you can select the agreed-on payment terms from the Terms drop-down list. You can also rate the vendor by choosing a rating from the Preferred Status drop-down list. If the Terms and Preferred Status drop-down lists contain no selections, this means you must enter both payment terms and ratings you can select using the Terms and Preferred Status buttons on the JobMaster main menu, respectively. To the right of the panel that contains the main contact information, there is another panel where you can enter a list of additional contacts for the vendor. To add a new contact, click on the Add button. This opens up another window where you can enter the information about the new contact. Once you've entered all of the information for the contact, click on the OK button to save the new contact, or click Cancel to cancel. To edit a contact, click on that contact in the list and then click on the Edit button. This opens up a window where you can edit the information for the contact. Click OK to save your changes, or click Cancel to exit the window without saving your changes. If you want to delete a contact, click on the contact and then click on the Delete button. You'll be prompted to confirm that you want to delete the contact. Click Yes to delete the contact, or click No to leave the contact in the list. At the bottom of the window, there is a large Notes field. In this field, you may enter any additional comments about the vendor. When you've finished entering all the information for the new vendor, then click on the OK button to save the vendor into JobMaster. Click on the Cancel button to exit from this window without saving the vendor. If you want to edit a vendor, click on that vendor at the list of vendors and then click on the Edit button. This will open a window that is similar to the one where you enter a new vendor. You can change any of the information here except for the vendor's ID. Notice that there is a checkbox called Active to the right of the vendor ID field. If you uncheck this checkbox, then the vendor cannot be referred to in other parts of the JobMaster program. For example, if a vendor is made inactive, then you cannot send purchase orders to that vendor or set that vendor as the preferred vendor for an inventory item until you reactivate the vendor by checking the checkbox again. At the bottom right of the screen, there are also 2 other buttons called Print and Mailing Label. The Print button lets you print a complete information summary for the vendor. The Mailing Label button lets you print a sheet full of mailing labels for the vendor. Once you're finished making any changes to the vendor, click on the OK button to save your changes, or click the Cancel button to exit back to the list of vendors without making any changes. If you want to delete a vendor, click on that vendor in the list and then click on the Delete button. You'll be asked to confirm that you want to delete the vendor. Click on Yes to delete the vendor, or click No to leave the vendor on your list of vendors. To print a list of vendors in JobMaster, click on the Vendor List button. To print one mailing label for each vendor, click on the Vendor Labels button. To exit the vendor directory and return to the JobMaster main menu, click on the Close button.